Coming up on Retiring Well with Michael Reese.
This is probably the hardest question you would ever be asked, financially speaking, in your lifetime. I want to go find properties right here in town and buy those properties, and I want to fund that using my IRA. Now, I got to tell you something. I don't like hearing that in a lot of cases, because the first thing I think is, I heard a lot about that in 2007, right before markets crashed. And now that I'm starting to hear it again, that's not making me real comfortable about what are going to happen in markets. I think history is starting to repeat itself a little bit here.
Now, the host of Retiring Well, Michael Reese.
Welcome to the show today. We have 30 minutes of action-packed information specifically designed for you. Retiring Well starts right here, right now.
Retiring Well with Michael Reese, helping you make smart decisions with your money so you can live a better life. Today is the day you can take back control of your money. Retiring Well with Michael Reese, where we believe your best is yet to come.
Today in CFP Talk, we are going to talk about pension buyouts. Now, here's the thing. This might be something you've never heard of before, and it may or may not affect you at some point in your life. But here's the deal with pension buyouts. They're becoming a very big deal. See, here's what's happening. Let's say you worked for a company all your life, and as part of your compensation, you were given a pension. And let's imagine that here you go, you're getting ready to retire, or maybe you're already retired, and you're going to get, or you will receive, a pension of $2,000 a month or $24,000 a year for the rest of your life. In fact, you might even have one of these deals where if you're married, when you die, a certain percentage of that may continue to your surviving spouse, maybe 50% or 75%, maybe all of it. So a traditional pension, what we're talking about here, it's kind of like Social Security. You get income for as long as you live, and when you die, there's nothing left. That's it, nothing left, all done. Now here's the deal. Companies who provide these pensions are essentially on the hook. They have the liability to pay you that $2,000 a month, $24,000 a year for as long as you live. When you're working, that's fine by them, because when you're working, they're not paying any money out. They're just setting money aside. The money's growing. Maybe they're collecting some fees on that money. But when you're retired, they have to pay that for your lifetime. It's their obligation to you. And what's happening today with investing in the markets? 20 years ago, we could go out and get a 10-year government bond paying 6.5%. What's that same 10-year government bond paying these companies today? More like 1.5%. So if you are the company and you are obligated to pay all this out, you're saying to yourself, wait a minute, you're running the numbers and you're saying, man, I don't like this. I don't want that liability. I'm not making any money on this. All I have is a liability. I want to get out of this deal. I want to buy these retirees out. I don't want to do this anymore. That's what the companies are saying. So what are they doing? They're coming to people just like you and they're saying, you know what? Let's do this Monty Hall thing. Let's make a deal, right? That's what they say. Let's make a deal. Here's what we want to do. We want to do a pension buyout program. Here's what we'd like to do with you, Mr. or Mrs. Retiree. We are currently obligated to pay you $24,000 a year for as long as you live. But when you die, there isn't going to be any money left over. How about we do something like this? How about we give you a lump sum and we don't have to give you any more money? So it's always dependent on how old you are. There's all these crazy calculations, but let's imagine that you're, let's say you're 70 years old. And they come to you and they say, tell you what, here's what we'll do. We're going to give you a lump sum of $300,000. And what they do is they put it into an IRA in your name. That's how it works. We will deposit into an IRA in your name $300,000, and in return, we don't have to pay you that money anymore. We're all done. We'll go our separate ways. You invest this to do whatever you want with it. We go away. What do you think? Should you take that deal? Should you take that deal? Folks, I got to tell you something. This is probably the hardest question you would ever be asked, financially speaking, in your lifetime. This is one of the hardest things, because you know what? Here's what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, of course I'll take that deal. I can take that money, I can invest it, I can just take out $24,000 a year. That's not that much. I'll probably have money left over for my kids. But wait a minute. In this particular example, I look at this, I say, well, wait a minute. That is 8%. That's an 8% income stream. Can you make that last for your lifetime? I sure as heck would be a little worried about that. What if you live to your 90, 95? You might be out of money. Folks, this is a very tough decision. If you are facing a decision like this, or you have questions about anything else that we talk about in the show, by all means, pick up the phone, give us a call. We'd love to talk to you and help you with decisions just like these.
Remember when life was simpler? When things didn't move quite so fast, and the world didn't seem so complex? Remember that? We do. And as the world around us has continued to speed up, becoming more complicated, and still a bit uncertain, we have managed to keep things simple, providing sound, easy-to-understand financial advice and customized roadmaps for the road ahead, from tax reduction strategies, investment advice, and guaranteed retirement income you cannot outlive, backed by the claims-paying ability of insurance companies. We can be your single point of contact, a single call, a voice you recognize well, and a partner who can be by your side for the entire journey. We can't stop the world around us, but we can help ensure you're prepared for what's to come. For a complimentary consultation, simply contact us today.
Hi, I'm Michael Reese, and I'd like to invite you and a guest to a complimentary evening of food, fun, and information at our next upcoming financial event. At this event, we're going to talk about topics that affect your money and your retirement planning. Topics include the 3 critical steps that you absolutely need to take to enjoy a secure retirement. We take a look at volatility versus returns. Which is more important for you and your money? Taxes. Nobody likes them, but what are you doing about your biggest tax liability? We're going to talk about these topics and much more. I want you just to call the number on the screen, bring you and a guest. We're going to have a great time, and I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Remember, you only want to retire once. Let's make sure you do it right. All right, this week in Ask Banks, we've got a really fun question. So I need to give you a little backstory on this one. So here's the deal. You may not be aware of this. It depends on if you have children or grandchildren that were into this. But, you know, I have 5 children, and they were big into Harry Potter when it was out. And you know what happened is just recently there was I don't know if you know this, but there's another Harry Potter book released. It was kind of a play that they did. J.K. Rowling, the author, was part of it. But, you know, of course, I had to go buy the book for the kids and read it to them and all that kind of stuff. Well, Banks, this was her first experience with Harry Potter. She was so excited. In fact, poor Banks, she had to watch all the movies. You know, we just had to watch all the movies from beginning to end again. We had to read books. Banks is, huge, huge Harry Potter fan. So she, in fact, sometimes when she barks, she'll bark in an English accent because she thinks that's kind of cool, right? I know, it's really funny when you do that. But anyway, the reason I bring this up, this backstory up, is this. We actually had somebody write in and ask Banks a question, and it had to do with, you remember Brexit? Remember how a couple months ago, Great Britain voted to leave the European Union, and all the economists are saying, oh my gosh, this is horrible. It's horrible, and there's going to be a recession, and everything's just going to fall apart in Great Britain. That's what they all predicted, and they all said it was going to happen right away. So this viewer, Steve, he wrote in, he said, hey, I heard about all this stuff with Brexit. What's going on? Has the economy failed? How they doing over there in the UK? How's everything going? Well, Banks, I said, she likes Harry Potter. She barks in an English accent now. So I thought maybe Banks, we could ask Banks how it's going. And here's the good news. And by the way, I brought Banks a little present here. She doesn't know it. This is going to be a surprise. But because this is a question about the UK and Brexit, well, I only thought it was appropriate that I bring Banks a copy. Basically, let's bring her the flag of, yeah, look at this. It's the Union Jack flag. And we'll give this to Banks, let her play around with that and wear it. So while she answers this question, she can be very English and proper, and we'll we'll answer that question. Here is the amazing thing. Everybody was talking about, all the economists, all the experts, Brexit, horrible for the Great Britain's economy. There's going to be a recession. It's going to be horrible. Doom and gloom will soon commence. Well, it turns out that, as usual, they were wrong. So far, the economy in Great Britain, up, doing better. Everything's actually doing a little better. They've had, quite frankly, zero effects with this Brexit vote. It's had no impact on them really at all. Now, that may change in the future, of course, one way or another. But here's the point this is the real important point in this whole thing. Remember this. When it comes to big events like this, Brexit, when you see the news media cover it left and right, don't get caught up in the hysteria. The news media is just all about delivering content they want you to watch. They're just going to make up stories as they need to. But at the end of the day, it ended up not being much of anything. Don't look at the big hysterical events. Focus on fundamentals. Focus on your long-term investing. Don't worry about all this stuff. It's a distraction. It makes you get scared, do some dumb investing things. Just ignore that stuff. 99% of the time, doesn't matter. Now, obviously, there are times when it does matter, like the 2008 credit crunch and all that. Different scenario. Okay, so Banks, she did the research. Brexit, not a big deal right now. And but at the same time, it looks like she can't wait to get home and watch some more Harry Potter. All right, folks, if you have questions for Banks, just go ahead and send us an email. The email's right there on the screen, and she will answer your questions as they come in. And as always, if you have questions about this or any other topic, by all means, feel free to give us a call. We'd be happy to talk to you. One of the biggest mistakes we see people making all the time when they come to our office is they don't have a clearly defined retirement plan. And the reason's pretty simple. It's pretty rare that someone like yourself has the opportunity to sit down with an independent financial advisor who truly specializes in retirement planning. Someone that makes sure that you can get through retirement safely and securely. Well, if you don't have a clearly defined retirement plan and you want one, well, all you have to do is give us a call. We have a special offer for the first 5 people that call. As long as you have at least $250,000 saved for your retirement, we will provide for you, free of charge, no obligation, a complete retirement review. In this review, we're going to help you take a look at your investments and the risk you're taking, the fees you pay in your portfolio, maybe even some tax planning. Will help you have an integrated, clearly defined retirement plan. Free, no obligation, be one of the first 5 callers. Make sure you call now. We'll see you when you stop in. You know, just the other day, I had someone come into the office, just like you. They're watching the show. They called us. They came in the office, and they had some questions about their IRA. And what they wanted to do was the following. They were saying, hey, I want to buy real estate in my IRA. Now, I don't want to buy like a real estate investment trust or something that's regularly traded. I want to go find properties right here in town and buy those properties, and I want to fund that using my IRA. Now, I got to tell you something. I don't like hearing that in a lot of cases, because the first thing I think is, you know, I heard a lot about that in 2007, right before markets crashed. And now that I'm starting to hear it again, that's not making me real comfortable about what are going to happen in markets. I think history is starting to repeat itself a little bit here. But what did I tell him? Well, what I did is I looked at him and I said, Frank, you can do that. It is certainly legal to do that. But, you know, like my dad said, just because you can do something, it doesn't mean you should do something. So I want to share with you 3 reasons. So I told him, I said, Frank, I'm going to give you 3 reasons why I wouldn't recommend that. I want to give you the same 3 reasons. Okay, this is really important. So if you're thinking about this, please pay attention. Reason number 1. The first reason that you don't want to buy real estate in your IRA is really simple. You lose all the tax benefits. I mean, if you think about it, owning real estate as an investment, especially when you own the real estate directly, you get all these wonderful tax benefits, depreciation, and you get to write off expenses and all that cool stuff. But in an IRA, everything's taxed at ordinary income rates. Yeah, you get tax deferral, but when the money comes out and all the gains, let's say you're successful. Let's say it works and you make a bunch of money. You get to pay ordinary income on all those gains. If you were investing in it outside of your IRA, on the other hand, not only would you pay capital gains, long-term capital gains taxes at the worst, which is a lot better rate, you can also do things like 1031 exchanges, avoid taxes altogether. In an IRA, you can't do that. All right, reason number 2. The second reason you don't want to do this, Frank, and to you, self-dealing rules with IRAs can get you into a ton of trouble really fast. So there's a great example in case law where there was a fella, he did this. He used his IRA to buy rental real estate. And one of his places needed, now listen to this, this is ridiculous, needed new paint. He had to freshen up the paint for a new renter. And so he just went to the store, he bought some paint and painted the walls so his new renter could come move in. Not a big deal, right? Oh, except for the IRS, when they audited him, said, no, that's self-dealing. You can't do that. You cannot, if you're going to do anything with an IRA, you can't do it yourself. You got to go hire someone and do fair market value and all that kind of jazz. Very, very complicated and very, very easy to violate. And you know what happens when you self-deal in an IRA? It's all cashed out. It's considered as though you cashed it all out, all in 1 year. You pay taxes on the entire amount in 1 year. This poor guy had to pay tax on over $1 million of an IRA distribution all in 1 year. Horrible. And then finally, number 3, required minimum distributions. Once you hit the age of 70 and a half, you're forced to pull a certain amount of money out of that IRA each year. There have been situations where people they take their IRA, they buy real estate, there was not enough cash in there to distribute for required minimum distributions. If you don't have enough cash to distribute for required minimum distributions, that is a 50% penalty on that distribution on top of the income tax that you pay. Typically, 75–80% of the money goes to the IRS. Nasty. You want to avoid that. So there you go. 3 reasons you don't want to use your IRA to invest in real estate. 1, you lose all the tax benefits. 2, self-dealing challenges. And 3, required minimum distribution problems. Folks, use your IRAs for different things. Use after-tax money for real estate. You'll be much happier in the long run. If you have questions about this or anything else we talk about in the show, by all means, pick up the phone, give us a call. We would love to answer your questions. One of the biggest mistakes we see people making all the time when they come to our office is they don't have a clearly defined retirement plan. And the reason's pretty simple. It's pretty rare that someone like yourself has the opportunity to sit down with an independent financial advisor who truly specializes in retirement planning. Someone that makes sure that you can get through retirement safely and securely. Well, if you don't have a clearly defined retirement plan and you want one, well, all you have to do is give us a call. We have a special offer for the first 5 people that call. As long as you have at least $250,000 saved for your retirement, we will provide for you, free of charge, no obligation, a complete retirement review. In this review, we're going to help you take a look at your investments and the risk you're taking, the fees you pay in your portfolio, maybe even some tax planning. Will help you have an integrated, clearly defined retirement plan. Free, no obligation, be one of the first 5 callers. Make sure you call now. We'll see you when you stop in.
It's your retirement. How will you live it? How will you be remembered?
Will you be able to take me on vacation?
Will you be there for my ball games?
Will you teach me your values? Will you be able to play with me?
Or help me go to college? How will I remember you?
Have the retirement you dream about. Contact us today.
Hi, I'm Michael Reese, and I'd like to invite you and a guest to a complimentary evening of food, fun, and information at our next upcoming financial event. At this event, we're going to talk about topics that affect your money and your retirement planning. Topics include the 3 critical steps that you absolutely need to take to enjoy a secure retirement. We take a look at volatility versus returns. Which is more important for you and your money? Taxes. Nobody likes them, but what are you doing about your biggest tax liability? We're going to talk about these topics and much more. I want you just to call the number on the screen, bring you and a guest. We're going to have a great time, and I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Remember, you only want to retire once. Let's make sure you do it right.
Welcome to this week's edition of Coffee Talk with Mike. I'm James Curry, financial advisor here at Centennial Wealth Advisory. We've got some great questions for you this week, Mike. Are you ready?
I'm looking forward to them.
All right, first we have from Hector in Cedar Park. He writes, I'm 62 years old and I want to retire, but I'm not sure if I can pull it off financially. How do I know when I have enough money to retire?
Wow, that is, Hector, get in the office. Call the show. I want to talk to you because this is the question of, we get this all the time. This is a big deal. People, they're in their 60s, maybe late 50s, early 60s. They're saving and they're looking forward to retirement, but they're never sure. How do I know when I have enough to retire, right? We get that all the time. And this is a big decision. We talk about this on the show. You only want to do this one time.
Right.
So you want to make sure we do it right. So this is one of those areas where as you know, I cannot encourage Hector enough. In fact, all of you, as you're watching the show, if you're in the same position as Hector is, by all means, call the office, come visit with us, because this is one of those areas where you guys use very sophisticated software to help people identify, look, is it realistic to think to know if your money's going to last or not?
Yeah.
Right? Because we have to think about, you have to think about the sources of income. You have to think about inflation, which, these days people are living so much longer. A 62-year-old might live to their 95. That's 33 years. Inflation's going to have an impact over that period of time, right? But then there are things they don't think about that, I know you guys do and we do, we all do. We think about things like, well, what about taxes? Gosh, taxes will rob them blind if you don't watch out for that. What about healthcare costs? That's the big unknown. I think you saw this, right? That Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act is really going through some trouble. So just regular health insurance, long-term care, these are all issues. And of course, they've got to get their estate planning done. lot of different areas that one has to think about. And so for Hector, I mean, I certainly can't answer that question. How do you know when you can retire? That's why you got to come in and visit with somebody like us, someone who's an independent who can really, truly, objectively look at your situation and help you plan for all of those areas that we talked about.
All right. And then we have our next question is from Grant in Round Rock. He writes, my neighbor, who seems pretty successful, keeps telling me to buy dividend-paying stocks for my retirement income. Given that bonds are paying so little, are dividend stocks a good alternative today?
Another great question, man. You viewers, you guys are sending us some really good questions here. So first of all, clearly his neighbor is some executive at Dell because he lives in Round Rock, right? Or something like that. Anyway, dividend-paying stocks appear to be very attractive today as a retirement income alternative to low interest rate bonds. I mean, bonds are paying almost nothing. And you look at it and you say, well, gosh, government bonds or corporate bonds, maybe I can get 2 or 3%. I can get a stock that pays a 2 or 3% dividend, and I have the opportunity for growth in the investment value all at the same time. So why would I put money in bonds when I can do that with a stock, right? And what I would share is simply this. History teaches us that those dividend-paying stocks are very attractive retirement income sources when markets cooperate. What happens if markets aren't cooperating? What happens like in 2008 when markets tanked, or in the early 2000s when markets tanked? Yeah. How did dividend-paying stocks do?
Lose your income and your investment.
Yeah, you lose both, right? So you lose, not only does your stock value go down, but the income that they're paying starts disappearing. And so I just caution you to recognize that dividend-paying stocks are still stocks. They're still equities. They have a ton of risk. You cannot rely on them to provide stable and consistent income for retirement.
Right. And well, that's going to wrap up this week's Coffee Talk with Mike. Certainly some great information this week. And if you'd like to have your questions answered next week, please visit the website or call the office.
Thanks everyone for watching the show today. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to call our office or visit our website. And remember, you only retire once. So let's get it right the first time. We'll see you next week.